So I wanted to say a little bit about the autonomy and privacy and confidentiality chapter, and leaving my reading glasses on just for kind of a different look. Anyway, one of the things to remember about this is that there are many ways we could justify the importance of privacy and confidentiality. We could do this through utility by saying people want their privacy kept. We could also point out the negative effects of losing confidentiality. People could steal your identity. That's obviously a problem that causes a lot of pain in society. But in a general sense, the concept of privacy, especially in the US, comes from the notion of autonomy. If we look at the rise of it through Supreme Court cases and other kind of social cases, it's really not until about the 70s or so, the 1970s, that we really get a notion of privacy the way we think about it today as individual rights that people hold. Before that, even in, say, medical situations, it wasn't uncommon for doctors to ask family members if it was okay to give a diagnosis to their loved ones. You can imagine, an older gentleman, say in his 80s, finding out that he has cancer. They might run this past his kids first to see if he would be up to that, right? If he would be emotionally ready to hear that he was dying. This would be pretty much unheard of today, right? We have the right to direct information about ourselves. It doesn't go through different people. And this right is linked to autonomy, to our ability to self-control, to kind of make our own decisions, to even make choices that maybe others won't agree with. So my grandfather, when he was about mid-80s, I'd say 85, 86, did get a diagnosis of cancer. He'd been smoking all of his life, so he wasn't completely surprised. He decided that he didn't even want to get the biopsy to find out more about it because he wasn't going to choose to treat it anyway. He had lived a good long life. He knew the choice that he was making, and because he was in his right state of mind, that was his choice to make. The doctors may or may not have agreed with him. Family members may have disagreed, but it doesn't really matter. He has a right to do this as an autonomous being. And in a way, that choice is a form of privacy. It's decisional privacy. The idea is that this is his right. In many ways, the rest of us don't even have to know what that decision is. He did share it with us, and it would be kind of unusual not to in a case like that, I suppose. But as I point out in the textbook, Roe v. Wade, the famous abortion case that was overturned a few years ago, that was decided by family privacy. The Supreme Court said nothing about abortion, whether it's good, bad, indifferent. They just said that it was a private choice among a family, and that doctors and politicians had no say in it. So this idea of privacy, which again is really just direct access to a person, whether it's their information, their appearance, their presence, right? Like if you're in your home right now, listening to this or watching this, you might have a right to privacy and think people shouldn't be, say, staring in your window, while you're watching this video or whatever. But of course, if you're in your car, you're going to know that people can see you. You don't have complete privacy. Similarly, if you were taking this in a class with a classroom setting, other students would see you. You wouldn't have complete privacy. But you would have confidentiality of some sort. I, as a teacher, would not be able to disclose what happened in class, what you said, what you did, etc. So while we sometimes conflate these ideas, privacy, confidentiality, even autonomy, I suppose, they're all separate. They all work together in some ways ethically. Our autonomy is our right as human beings to make choices for ourselves, especially when those choices only affect ourselves. Obviously, my right to do this can conflict with your right to make these things for yourself, in which case we'd have to decide those conflicting values. But if it only affects me, the general idea is that if it's my life, my body, my things, I get to make these choices. And that includes not just what to do, but also some notion of privacy, some space wherein it's nobody else's business. And while there may be certain people that must have access to my information, like I as your professor must know what your grade is, I then have to keep that secret from people who don't have that authorization. And that's confidentiality. So autonomy is the broad right, to yourself, to your life, to your choices. Privacy is access to those things from someone else, and confidentiality is keeping secrets in cases where other people have no right to know about your business or your life. So I hope that helps with these distinctions a bit as you're working through it and doing the homeworks and other assignments.